Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is David and I'm known as Unity Freedom. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe below. And after the talk, if you like my channel, please like my channel as well too. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a topic. It seems to be a popular topic I noticed on the internet, and it is about ego death. And the topic ego death coincides also another topic I like to talk about and expand upon. Last time I talked about the dualistic selves and the selfish ego. Today I'm going to talk about non-dualistic selves and the selfless ego, and why there is a relationship between that and the ego death. So without further ado, we'll dive right in. So what is ego death? Now, there's a lot of people talk about ego death, and many years ago I also heard about this term, and I wasn't quite sure about what it meant until, of course, 10 years ago I actually experienced that ego death. So first, I'd like to define, at least in my terms, what I understood as being the ego. Basically, the ego is like a container. It's an anchor for our existence, for our identity on planet Earth. And the ego, as such, is a container of our separate identities that we created in order to exist on Earth. So for example, many people created who you are in relation to, say, your job, your family, and your relationship with your girlfriend, your wife, or with your relatives and your brothers and sisters, and also your relationship with many events, your job, what you're doing, how you represent the world. So all these identities that you created in order to interact with the world is contained all stored in the identity or the ego that you created. So in the world today, we usually relate the ego to the selfish ego. The ego who is selfish, self-centered, and ambitious. So this kind of ego leads people to be selfish, be unkind, judgmental, and it's a common ego. And all of us, when we start out our spiritual path, we do have this kind of ego. But over time, after you experience through this selfish ego, and experience the identities that define the selfish ego, you decided that you don't want to have anything to do with this ego. Like you felt, I can do more, I can do better. The selfish actions, the attitudes that I used to have, yes, it gained me certain advantages, but in the end, it didn't make me happy. It actually causes many people to be unhappy at me. And so eventually one day, you will realize that this is enough. I'm done with this way of living. And so that day, you will realize, okay, maybe I'm really done. And then you have this sense of wanting to surrender to the world, surrender the identity that you have, surrender the ego that you have. And so you have this sense that you want to be reborn. You want to get away, to walk away from this kind of ego. So the ego death, at least to what I know, what I have experienced myself, because about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I used to be more selfish, more self-centered, and I used to feel that everything that I do, it's for me. And in a way, it serves a purpose. It really served a purpose because it allowed me to experience, well, I guess many things that we experience in this world. Wealth, success, building up a certain reputation, and having the admiration and the respect from all other people. And in time, you feel that this kind of, at least I felt this kind of accomplishments, yes, I was really good at my job and I was really good at my skills. And I got a lot of, in my career, I got a lot of kudos and admirations for my colleagues and my customers and my clients and my friends. They said, wow, David is such a great camera technician. But I was never felt fulfilled. It's sort of like I felt I'm not fully utilizing my fullest potential. And yes, I got all this fame and respect, but it's respect, people respecting that particular ego I was carrying. And of course, the respect I gained from those people, the other people who disliked my ego, looking at my ego as being passive aggressive, judgmental, being arrogant, and being right all the time. Because that kind of ego is self-centered. Anything you do, you have to feel you're right. And so I was more than 10 years ago, I felt I just want to get away from it. I don't need this anymore. And so one day, I had this vision. I had this vision that I would become a nurse, or at least a healthcare assistant. That was when I started my career in healthcare. But for me, as an Asian man, working in nursing, it's so degrading. But in fact, working in nursing was to become part of my divine plan, part of how I can be of service to all mankind. And so I was struggling. I have this successful career. I was making good money. I was comfortable, but I wasn't growing because I felt comfortable. And so I guess one day I decided to just let my career go, my identity go, the selfish identity go, and have that full surrender. And that after that full surrender, that experience, I realized I was free. Because one of the things I have, like certain health issue, was anxiety. I have quite a bit of anxiety. And I was borderline blood sugar high because I was consuming sugar as well, caused by the anxiety, and anxiety of the job, the anxiety of me keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with my identity that I created to make myself important, famous, and needed. But it wasn't me. It wasn't the person that I am, the real person that I am meant to be. And so when I gave up that identity, I felt relieved. All the stress that I have, I used to have lots of back pain. Back pain's gone. Neck pain's gone as well. Like my body suddenly say, I am going to release the tension. Because I used to go to many massages, spend a lot of money at chiropractor, and all kinds of massages, try to release the tension on my body. But instead, I realized it was actually the mind. My mind was causing that tension, but trying to keep this particular egotistic identity. And when I released that, first thing I noticed was my body is relaxed. I remember one time that I was asleep, and when I wake up, I couldn't even wake up. It's like my whole body felt so heavy. But actually, it was my mind thinking my body should be heavy. But then my body was lighter. And I had to readjust myself with a lighter body. And also, I remember one time when I go out in the forest and I noticed there was no noise. There was quiet, peace and quiet. There was no noise in my mind, reminding me I had to keep up with the Joneses. And that was another revelation that when I surrender the vanity of the world. I surrender the ego, the selfish ego that I kept to define my identity, my character in order to survive in this world that needs this identity to be famous, to be important, and to be acknowledged. And so I was free from this ego, but I wasn't actually letting it go fully. Because one of the things I got from the vision before I surrendered my ego was that I got the vision of working in healthcare, serving patients that need to be served, that need help. And for me, I was trying to bargain with myself. And I say, well, maybe if I work in healthcare, maybe I can choose the kind of healthcare job or career. So I don't have to change diapers. I don't have to clean the patients. I don't have to smell the urine and feces. I don't have to pick up those in the washroom. I don't have to make bed. I don't have to be someone else's Molly maid. That thought was actually what delayed the path that I was supposed to walk by about 1.5 years. When I lost my job, I have a severance pay for about a year. So during that year, I was traveling. I was trying to redefine myself. What should I do after I left the job? What sort of new career, new direction should I go? But in my mind, even though I surrendered my ego, I let the ego die. I let the selfish ego die. I didn't actually fully surrender myself to the divine plan that I was supposed to fulfill, even though I have the image of that plan. And I remember that even walking down the street, I would see cars with nurses next door, and I would see it all the time. And I would see handy dart which in our country is a little mini bus that helps transport patients, seniors that are otherwise unable to take public transport, that comes to your house or comes to the senior facility and pick them up and take them to the doctor's appointment or to the hospital. So I keep seeing all these things. It was, I guess, an omen to tell me that I need to look at working in healthcare. But it was one day, after a year and a half, I tried to apply for all kinds of jobs, healthcare jobs, that I realized I couldn't find a job. No one wants to hire me. But I remembered there was a course that can help me train to become what you call in the States an orderly, in Canada a healthcare assistant. Basically someone who assists nurses cleaning up the bed, help patients feedings, and helping the patient in their medication, but mainly you will help the patient take showers, clean, change their diapers. And that was something I was resisting, even though I was meant to do that. And all that resistance finally gave away because, well, I needed a job. And I can't resist no more. It's like the movie Star Trek. There's this species called the Borg, and they say resistance is futile. And finally, I guess I heard the voice in my heart. It says, resistance is unnecessary. Just fully surrender. Just jump into the river of life. And then your life will flow easily without resistance. That was the voice I heard. And I finally gave up. And I signed up for the course. And surprisingly enough, I actually got into the course, and it was like the financing. I got scholarship. I didn't know how I managed to do that. Like everything was easy. Everything comes. As soon as I made that choice to become a person to take care of the seniors, the sick, all of a sudden everything became so easy. And then even in school, I met two lovely registered nurses who were my instructors. And for some reason they knew me. I guess intuitively that I need a lot of help because, I'm an Asian man that never actually have any experience taking care of, like, changing people's diapers, or how do you put on clothes on women, like put on the bra. All that I just didn't know. And they were kind enough to show me. And they didn't laugh. They didn't laugh that David doesn't know all the things. Certainly I wasn't born to know how to help women put their clothes on. So they were helping me. Everything was like everyone were helping me succeed in this career. And after I graduated, the nurses actually wrote a very good commendation and recommendation to allow me to work in the field. And when I went for an interview, I met another nurse that interviewed me. And she also does Reiki, energy healing. And the first thing she knew was that she sensed that this is your divine plan. This is your plan. This is your mission. And the interview was really short. She looked at the resume. She didn't even look fully and say, okay, David, you're meant to be here. You're meant to do the job. You're hired. And that was the point in time that I fully surrendered myself. When I fully surrendered my ego, my selfish ego, I got the job. The job that was supposed to define my life, fulfill my divine plan, to serve the people, to serve society, to serve the community, and to serve the whole. And that was the point of letting go of your selfish ego. Are you willing to serve yourself, or are you willing to serve the whole? And that is the choice you have to make. If you're not willing to make the choice to serve the whole, then you will end up serving yourself, and you will raise that particular self. Try to make yourself very important. And so ego death is your choice to serve the whole. And from that point on, you do serve the whole. There is no turning back. That's why that choice has to be made consciously by you. And I had to make that choice consciously by me. I have to make it. And I was reluctant to make it for a year and a half. When I made it, everything goes according to what I need to do. It's like the universe is helping me and allowing me to succeed. There's no resistance. It's all flowing. And so when you let go of that ego self, that egotistical, selfish self, you actually create a new ego. You're reborn into a new ego, a new selfless ego to serve the whole. And this particular ego, because ego, you need an ego to keep your body on earth, your identity. But when you switch from being selfish to being selfless to serve the whole, you create identities, non-dualistic identities that don't react like those dualistic selves, because those dualistic selves react to trauma that you haven't resolved. But once you resolve the trauma, you don't have to create identities to prevent you from experiencing everything, because once you resolve the trauma, you can be anything, anyone, any identity. You have no fear. You can even express yourself. And even people put you down, you don't feel, because you have this non-dualistic selves that see things. I don't need to react. It's just somebody who disagree with me, somebody who don't like what I'm saying, what I'm doing. And when you're serving the whole, that's what you have to do. You are serving the whole. You are serving people. You are taking care of people. But sometimes people don't appreciate what you do and may yell at you, may judge you for what seems like your mission to help them, to shine the light to them, to be the example so they can overcome their own selfish ego and be like you. And so when you're reborn to this new selfless ego, and you created this non-dualistic selves, that's when you start to develop, you grow exponentially, because now you're not reacting to any situation. Even somebody put you down, even somebody yell at you, even somebody judged you, you would just calm down neutrally and see the situation. Because when you're in this neutral state of mind, you're in this selfless ego, you're not really pulled by the ego. The ego allows you to see everything what you see, but you also have the connection to your higher self, your I am presence, and also your spiritual guides. So you're not really closed like when you are controlled or pulled by the selfish ego. Your attention is not on the ego. Your attention is using the ego to experience the world, but you can step back because the selfless ego doesn't pull you in and always grab your attention. You can step back, evaluate the situation openly, globally, and see, did I did something wrong? Was it my mistake? Causing someone to react? Causing someone to be angry at me? Or I didn't do anything wrong. I am simply doing my job. I'll give you an example. A few days ago, I was working the IT for a computer platform, and I found a bug in the software. And I know if you don't address this bug during the execution day to run this software for the opening date for the software to run on all the other platforms on the network, it will crash. So I told my supervisor, I showed the software, I showed the bug. The supervisor saw it, saw the bug, but the IT supervisor felt that it wasn't really important. Now, the clients won't be using that. The client won't be exposed to that bug. But that's their assumption that the client would use it. But of course, I sense in my experience that the clients will use that. The first thing that they connect to the network, they will have to choose that option. If you don't tell the client that to choose that option, the software won't work. And so during the launch day, the client did want to choose that software. It was a national launch. So in our office, I told my staff that this is going to happen. So my staff was already ready for it. As soon as the software launches, my staff was able to correct the situation and there was no delay. It was maybe about a minute delay for the client to choose the options for the software to work. But for the other sites, it took them 15 to 20 minutes to figure out why it was doing that. And the pushback I got when before the launch, I got so much pushback not to say anything to the client. But I told my staff and I told the client that it's going to happen. But the client says, no, but your supervisor told me that it's not going to happen. So I got pushback from the client saying it's a worry that you shouldn't worry. You shouldn't be saying this. And I got pushback from the IT supervisor for me to expose there's a problem with the software, in which case they didn't want the client to know. Suffice to say, I was right. During launch day, the software didn't work properly, but in our office only, the software works because I told our client in our office that this is how you would use the software to overcome the bug, override the bug. But the other offices around nationwide didn't know this workaround, so they had to spend 15 to 20 minutes. You can demonstrate the bug to your client, and you can demonstrate the bug to your supervisor, but you're demonstrating, you're showing the issue, you're neutral about the situation, you're just showing the client, and you're showing to the supervisor. And that was what I was doing. I was showing, I was demonstrating, I was letting them know if they accept this, and when they accept this, they will go about correcting it before launch day. But of course, they didn't accept what I had to say, what I had demonstrated, and which led to the disaster during launch day. And of course, finally, they realized it was their mistake, that David was right. But they never say anything. They never apologized. They never said, "Oh, David, you're just right. No, we should have listened to you." Never said anything to me. And of course, I didn't expect anything from them. Because when you're in that neutral state of mind, you're just being the mirror for them. You're the mirror. You're the mirror for their reluctance to listen to what people have to say, especially me, to listen that there could be a disaster happening, but you didn't listen. And that demonstration, that way of demonstrating to people, allow people to see why they make the mistake. Because if you tell them they made a mistake, they might not listen. But if you demonstrate and then you show to them that they actually made a mistake by not listening to you, that is more powerful for them to learn why they did not listen to me. What is causing them not listen to me, to my advice, to my evidence? So this is how, when you are in this state of ego less, or the selfless ego, that you're not selfish, you're just being there to demonstrate to people this is how things work, and work really well. And then you stay back, you stand back, and you neutrally let it happen. And if they listen, good. But if they don't, which usually they don't, then they will experience the school of hard knocks. And then from there, they will see, oh, David did tell us that it's going to happen. The bug is going to cause a delay, a shutdown, a crash. So when you are in this sense of the selfless ego, you can then provide service to all, because you can be neutral. You're not afraid to provide service. You're not even afraid of speaking out, like I did. I saw an issue. I knew I'm going to be put down there. I knew also there's going to be pushback, lots of pushback from these people, but I said it anyways, because for me, that is my self-expression, my creative self-expression. I was there to evaluate the situation and creatively suggest a solution, which they haven't seen or they might not want to see. But you provided it, and I provided that solution. Whether or not they accept my solution or not, it's not really important. What's important is when you are in this life and you have overcome the selfish ego, you are free to express creatively whatever you're meant to do in your life, in your divine plan, without fear, because you have resolved the trauma from your early childhood. In the case of Jane, resolve fully the trauma so she can now self-express creatively without fear of anyone putting her down. Or like Mike, overcome the fear of telling the truth so that when Mike sees something that needs to be fixed, he will tell the truth, but remain neutral. Whether the person listens to the truth or not, that is up to the person, not up to Mike. But Mike at least felt that he needed to express the truth. He will express the truth without fear. And that's our purpose in life, is that we are here to express creatively what we are meant to express. Every one of us has a gift from God. I have a gift from God, and so do you. But what stops you from expressing the gift is fear. Fear of people judging you, fear of people shutting you down, fear of people pushing you back. And that fear comes from the selves in you that is preventing you from fulfilling your fullest potential, because you are able to fulfill a lot of potential. It's just that something in you that is preventing you from fulfilling that potential. So the next time I'm going to talk about the real you. How do you choose to fulfill your fullest potential when you have this separate selves, and then you have your selfish ego, and you have this selfless ego, because even you overcame and you let the selfish ego die, there are still certain reactionary selves, those selfish selves in you that can pull you back, pull you into focusing on specific issues, rather than you maintaining being neutral all the time. So the next time I'll talk about the real you and how you can identify the real you. So until then, I thank you again for spending some time listening to my talks. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe below. Please like my channel so I can get more people to tune into my channel. So until then, I thank you all for listening to my channel. This is David saying goodbye.